In this video, we're going to say goodbye to the Focus and we're going to answer that burning question. Is it actually fixed? Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. In this final video with January's £174 Ford Focus, we're going to have a look at whether or not the repairs actually worked as we go to move it on to its new owner. And unfortunately, the jury's still out on that one. It's a little bit inconclusive. The steering assist failure warning made a reappearance. When I initially test drove it after repairing, the fault didn't come back straight away. It seemed fine. It stayed off. But then after about 15-20 miles, it came back on. It stayed on. Scanned for fault codes and got the same fault codes as before. And then I've continued to use the car. I've been using it for my commute. And strangely, the more I use the car, the more intermittent the fault seems to get. The warning turns off, sometimes for an entire journey. And recently, as I've used it more and more, it seems to be staying off more than it's staying on. A bit of a strange one, really. But we're going to go for a drive. I'll talk a little bit more about where we're at with the Focus. I'll talk a little bit about where it's off to. It's off to its new owner very shortly. And maybe have a quick sort of sneak peek at what's coming next. Although I'm not going to give too much away on February, I don't think. So I'm on the dual carriageway, a couple of miles from work. The car's driving fine, driving as you expect, and the steering assist failure warning has gone again. So as far as you know, the information it's presenting to me on the dashboard, everything's fine. There isn't a problem, and it seems like it'll drive for long enough like this. If you're not particularly changing direction, if you're just driving along, especially in fairly straight roads and stuff, if all is well, and occasionally then if you come to a roundabout or a junction or something like that, and you're turning sort of reasonably hard to the right most often, it doesn't seem to do it as often if you're turning left. The warning then comes back on, but what it started doing is then, once you're driving straight down the road again, the warning goes off. So it does make me think there's a loose connection, or perhaps the dodgy second-hand sensor that had been painted and made to look a lot newer than it was maybe isn't quite all that it seemed. But it's what I'm struggling with is I think we've fixed something. I think replacing the pump has definitely improved the situation, because before we had a very permanent steering assist failure warning on the dash that wouldn't clear. You couldn't clear the fault codes, it would just come straight back, and absolutely nothing we could do would actually change that. It was a permanent fault. It wasn't going away. It was never even turning off for a short amount of time. So I definitely think we've improved the situation, but to now be left with a sort of seemingly intermittent fault is a bit of a strange one. Now, some people do talk about a calibration sequence for the power steering system on these, and doing a bit of Googling and asking on forums and stuff, and people say that there's a calibration sequence you need to follow. But any sort of concrete workshop manual type information I can find seems to refer to there is a calibration sequence, but only if you have a car which has ESP, which this car does not. Cars with ESP have two steering angle sensors. They have one in the clock spring, integrated into the clock spring behind the airbag, and one in the same position as this car at the steering rack. Well, this car doesn't have ESP. And it only has one steering angle sensor. I've very comprehensively checked and proved that we definitely don't have that type of system. And when I use Forscan to look at the available service procedures, any sort of calibration or configuration for the steering system in this car isn't available. The only thing you can do is to change the VIN that's stored in the power steering pump to match the car that it's in. Now, I didn't do that at first because it seemed like everything was fine, everything was working. I later did do that when I took it for a drive and the light came back on. I connected it up to Forscan. I set the correct VIN in the electronic power steering module, so it all matches. If you scan it now, it looks like it came with this car and it belongs there, and everything's fine. But that didn't really seem to make a discernible difference. But as far as any calibration procedure goes, I can't seem to find one that's actually applicable to this vehicle and that I can actually carry out. Now, I don't know if I had your proper Ford main dealer diagnostics, that would be different. Maybe there is something that they would be able to do, but it's all hearsay. I can't find anything certain that would say that that's definitely what you need to do and that will repair that car and it'll definitely be good to go. So I'm not going to continue on down that rabbit hole, I don't think. As I say, the car's sold anyway. It'll be heading off to a new home. I had to reduce the price in light of it still being apparently faulty. I was hoping to sell it for a little bit more, given I thought I'd repaired it, but we reduced the price. Still making a little bit of profit, and everybody's happy. So it's sold via the beige. I don't think the person that won it actually wants to come and pick it up. I think there'll be another backhander deal done and somebody else will end up with the car, but I don't really care. As long as somebody turns up and takes it away before the end of the month, I'll be happy enough. So this is off to its new home shortly, so what's next? Well, there was actually a car. I bought two cars in the past couple of weeks. I'd lined one up that I intended to be for February. Turns out that's actually going to be for March now, although I do already have it. It's already there, so sorry to spoil the magic of YouTube and the smoke and mirrors. We are going to probably be stockpiling cars, but I'll be keeping their identity under wraps. I'm going to try not to have too many around at once, but there might well be. I'll have a couple of months worth at a time, just to make the logistics easier, and I'm not having to rush at the first day of the month to go and pick up a car or anything like that. So, but the car that I'd originally identified for February, it's perfectly fine. It's going to be good. I'm actually quite looking forward to getting stuck into it because it has a lot more sort of small cosmetic things wrong with it, and one particular mechanical issue that hopefully won't be too bad, but mostly it's a bit rough, it's a bit beaten up. But February's actual car, which I'm going to pick up, I'll probably be collecting as you're watching this video. I've broken one of my own rules because I said that everything I bought was going to be road legal and have at least a bit of MOT and enough MOT to ideally see through the month and still have someone to sell it as a running, driving MOT car, just because of the logistics involved in taking a car for an MOT and having to worry about all that stuff. Well, in light of that, for car number 2 for February, I've gone and bought a car that's got less than 2 weeks MOT, so it'll still be MOT'd in February, but only just. It'll be legal to get it home, but then I'll need to look at getting it repaired because it will need repairs for the MOT, and then looking at the sort of other things it needs to tidy up a little bit. So I wasn't planning on having many sort of, oh my god, this heap failed its MOT and look at all the work it needs type videos, but I definitely think we've got one of those coming. But the only clue I'm going to give you, because I know some of you are absolutely dying to know, is it's British. It's a British car. That's it. I'm not going to give too much away. If I give you any more details, it's going to be very obvious what it is. It was definitely well within the £500 budget, and it's British. That's all you're getting. And I must say, to be honest, I'd be quite glad to get into something else. I mean, this thing, you know, it's comfortable enough, it's quiet enough, it's spacious enough, but it just doesn't do it for me. I don't know what it is. Yes, it's a Ford Focus, okay? It's not the last word in excitement. Nobody expects it to be. I have no expectations that it's going to excite me or you know, that I'm going to particularly want to get in it in the morning. But I don't know what it is with this era of Ford. Certainly sort of similar age Fiesta, Mark 6, Mark 5, Mark 6 Fiesta. I feel exactly the same when I drive one of them, and they look and feel very similar. You know, they're similar kind of glum dashboards, and you know, everything feels very solid, and you feel like, you know, for the money you pay, you're getting something that, you know, is pretty well screwed together. Drives okay, but it just doesn't do anything for me, and I don't know why. I'd certainly, you know, I've owned and driven a lot of other cars that are probably not as good as this. Certainly as boring, if not more boring. And probably not as good, not as competent, not as well screwed together. But I'd still rather drive one of them than a Ford. And yeah, I don't know. I'm sure that's there's gonna be some die-hard Ford guys out there that are gonna absolutely hate me saying that. But Ford just leaves me cold. I just can't get behind it. Now I'm sure, you know, if it was an ST or an RS, then that's different. But a sort of cooking model Focus. No, see, this one is it's a Ghia, don't you know? You know, it is it's a bit higher up the pecking order than your typical kind of rental car fodder and that kind of stuff. But I still it's not for me. I don't think. Just not really my thing, and then I can't even really tell you why. Because, like I say, it's comfortable enough, it's quiet enough. Road noise wise, yeah, it's maybe a bit noisier than I was expecting. But then, you know, it is 12 years old, nearly 13 years old. Maybe it was probably maybe a little bit quieter when it was new, don't know. But, you know, on the whole, it's not offensive. Nothing about it's offensive. The fuel consumption is not fantastic. Seeing sort of early 30 miles per gallon to 32, 33. But from a 1.8, it's probably not terrible. I mean, I don't have the lightest right foot in the world. The fact I both had to do a speed awareness course and got 3 points recently is kind of testament to that. But certainly on the commute, you know, taking it fairly easily, trying to be economical, and it still just doesn't seem particularly great on fuel. But maybe my expectations are warped. I mean, I spend a lot of time these days driving a modern diesel, which I think does skew your perception of how economical a car should be. But then I did also used to own I had an E53 BMW X5 with a 3 litre 6-cylinder petrol engine, and I could not get it to be better than 17 miles per gallon. That was it. 17.0 on the trip computer constantly. Just couldn't seem to improve it at all. And I sold it, and I sold it, and the guy I sold it to drove it home. He reset the trip as he left, and he said, "Oh, I don't know what you're talking about. It's great on fuel. Just 30 miles to the gallon, no problem at all." And I think that probably says a lot about the way I drive compared with other people. And that's kind of when I realised that chasing fuel economy probably isn't my forte in life, and I should just accept that no matter what I drive, I'm not going to see particularly good economy. But so maybe the sort of 32, 33 miles to the gallon I'm seeing out of this, it shouldn't be a surprise, and it's fairly standard. But I'm also pretty sure that Ford would have said when this was new that it would be a lot better on fuel than it is. But then most manufacturers did. You know, the old way of judging fuel economy, the old laboratory tests they did, they're really not very, very good, very accurate, and I think manufacturers often really, really badly overstated their economy figures. Be interested to look. I've never looked it up. Be interested to know what the book actually says. If you know, put in the comments what the sort of official rating is for this 1.8 Duratec HE in the Mark II Focus. It'd be quite interesting to know. But 32, 33 is all I see out of it. So there you are. I'm sure there's a lot of you watching that are going to be like, oh no, the Mark II Focus is a great car, I love them, and we definitely have one, especially they're so cheap and whatever, but it's just not for me. But I'm glad I bought it. I'm glad I did this. At least I know now that I'm not particularly fussed about them. So if one comes up for sale in the future, it can pass me by. Don't need to be too bothered about it. So I've just arrived home. Funnily enough, the steering assist failure warning actually stayed off for the rest of the journey. So I don't know what's going on with that, but I'm fairly confident it will come back on again when I drive the car again tomorrow. So, it definitely very much has turned into an intermittent fault rather than the permanent fault it was before. Can we call that a victory? I don't know. If you've got an idea what might actually still be wrong with this, please let me know. Please comment below and let me know what you think the issue might still be. If nothing else, it'll help the new owner if they are going to go down the route of trying to repair it rather than just smoking it about until the MOT is due. But that's it for the Focus. January is almost over. The Focus is off to a new home very shortly, and next week tune in to see February's car in all its glory. I'm sure you're going to love it. If you've enjoyed this series of videos so far, please like, share and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one. Thank you very much for watching.